On the topic of politics, the next reason why I will never move back to the US is gun control. Now listen,
Safety.
okay, again, I'm not going to relay my opinion because I don't.
Here's what most Americans think overseas, by the way. We're not anti-gun control. Or I should say we're not gun control, pro-gun control, whatever. We like guns, dude. We like guns just as much as the hardcore conservative. We don't like that the mentally ill people and the access to guns is so easy. We don't like that we have a mental health crisis. And because we live in a society where guns are our Second Amendment right, that these people can get them with no background check, no psychological evals, nothing. And so we have public tragedies that shouldn't be happening. And they keep happening and keep increasing. They're becoming more common. That's the scary part, that you could send your kid to school and they might not come back, that you could go to the mall and you might not come back, that you could go watch a movie and something could happen, sitting down at a restaurant, eating, who knows, going to church. All of these have happened in America very recently. That doesn't happen in most of these countries. Well, I don't know about some of the Western European countries where they have terrorist issues there too and stuff, mass stabbings and crazy stuff like that. But let's just say here in Eastern Europe, a public tragedy like that happening is only something you watch on the news and you're horrified to see. You do feel at ease when you're in a society that's far more safer than the craziness of the United States. And the reason I say this is because, 60, 70, 80 years ago, access to guns was the same, but we didn't have public tragedies like this. We have a measured decrease in mental health and well-being, which is causing issues when people have access to weapons. The issue isn't to keep weapons away from people, because that is our right in our country as Americans. The issue is, how do we fix the mental health crisis? And that's something no one will address. Democrats don't address it because it gives them something to run on every single campaign when a tragedy happens. They'll just point in your face and you see, we have to limit guns. And then conservatives get another one too. See, they're trying to take away your freedom and make a tyrannical government. So each side is emboldened by the public tragedies because they could dig their heels into their positions and make sure their constituents vote in line with everything. It's pathetic, man. This is why he says it's a mechanism of division, because they could have fixed all these problems if they really wanted to. But your kids, you, your wife, your girlfriend, your parents, somebody will die eventually, unfortunately, or you may know of somebody that was in a public school event. And the next one, when will it be? Who knows, guys, but it'll probably be in the next month or two. They're very common occurrences in the United States. It's sad. And those are the ones that are just getting reported on. Because if you're in the hood and something happens there where 3, 4, 5 get shot up, it's not national news, it's just whatever. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to make this video real quick. I am at work. But I have to say, the narratives that is constantly spoke about gun control and mental health crisis, it is an absolute scapegoat. Before a particular president was a president, we used to have mass shootings, and we had a high amount of mass shootings in cities that was barely nationally reported. It was reported locally, so everybody ignored it. As soon as shootings occurred in particular communities, then they wanted to go national news because, of course, they never had that type of thing. After a particular president went into office, all of a sudden he decided to blame mental health as an issue. But under his term, he had an increase of mass shootings, escalation. In fact, every mass shooting they did an investigation on whether they shot themselves or not, they found out they had zero mental health issues. The problem was hate. Again, hate. The other issue when it came down to the school mass shootings wasn't mental health. Again, it was school bullying. Again, bullying. The very thing that causes and starts fights in schools. I lived in a time where bullying got people killed, even in my schools. Of course, it didn't go national. Go figure. A lot of bullies did get shot. Or the person who was bullied came back to school and shot the bully or everybody else who was involved. It's just more escalated now because Now the whole world's online. Everybody's online. So now you have more like a gang-related bullying situation going on in school. And when a person gets fed up, guess what? If you pay attention to the mass shootings, they target specific people. Again, they don't really talk about it unless you actually read every news report on each school shooting. You find out the people that was gone after during the shooting, they all was bullying that particular person. The other issue, again, was hate. A lot of the school shootings was hate crimes. None of it was tied to mental health. Still isn't. But mental health was used as a scapegoat. I can tell you this, I have mental health problems. I've been in a facility. This planet is covered with mental health issues. If mental health was the real cause, especially in this country, at the rate people are depressed, high anxiety, we would have a severe massacre. Mental health people, and please take note of this, because I know, mental health people are more inclined to ghost themselves than other people. Again, if mental health was an issue, we would have a mass massacre, and mental facilities and therapists would be an epic failure. Not that they are already, but we would have a mass massacre. Mental health people are more inclined to kill themselves. That's why most of them are already in facilities, because they're trying to stop them from killing themselves, not other people. So again, narratives are not facts. It's not the truth. Most narratives are found in stories. And that's the problem. We're living in a storybook life, a social media life. Everything that people say, you're going to go along with it because you like what the person said or you like the person, but you don't even know the facts. And some people don't even ask questions. So I personally know this narrative about mental health as an issue and is the real cause behind mass shootings is not correct. Absolutely not correct. Because again, with all the people on depression meds, all the people depressed, guns or not, half of them don't have a criminal record, but I guarantee you, if they was to get a gun, this country would be slaughtered if that was the case. People who carry guns, two reasons: self-defense, and they hate somebody. And usually if they hate somebody, they're most likely in a gang. And of course, if you don't want to know about it, you typically move out of the cities. But that's where most of mass shootings take place. If you pay attention, every day there's a mass shooting in the city. But everybody ignores that. None of them are mental health issues. They just hate each other. But I want you to pay attention to the rest of the video, because this gentleman mentioned something very interesting. I was going to say it, but I want you to hear it from his mouth. Another reason why there's shootings in this country.
Really have an opinion on this matter. I can see how both sides have credible arguments, credible claims as to why gun control should be one way or another. What I will do is I will assess the facts. Okay, and here are the facts. Here in the Netherlands, there are not mass shootings. It just doesn't happen here. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't happen in any country, but for most of the Western developed world, the US is far and away the country with the most mass shootings. Now, why is that? I don't know. You could say it's a gun problem. You could say it's a mental health problem. Doesn't really matter to me. All I know is that it happens. And I'm going to share a quick little story. I'm from the DFW area, the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. And before I left Texas back in 2022, at the end of 2022, to go to LA for a few months, I lived in this city called Allen, Texas. Now, Allen, Texas is one of the safest cities that you could possibly live in. I mean, it is truly one of the safest cities you could be in. I'm talking about people walk their dogs at 2 a.m. Okay, it's that kind of city. It's the type of city that people want to raise their children in. and send them to the public schools, etc. A city where they have literally a $60 million stadium for the high school football team.
Damn.
Okay? For the high school football team, a $60 million stadium. Now, I'm saying this to say that this is the last place that you would expect anything like that to happen. And yet that is exactly what happened a little over a year ago. If you didn't know, May of 2023, there was a mass shooting at this mall called the Allen Outlets Mall, which is a mall that I lived probably 5 minutes away from. Okay, a 5-minute drive. Not only that, I went there quite often. My parents went there at least once or twice a month. And just to see it happen so close in a place like that, where you would just never expect any sort of violent encounters like that to happen. I mean, it lets you know that you're really not safe anywhere. You're really not safe anywhere in the US. If you're not safe in Allen, you're not safe anywhere. And I didn't realize how much tension I was constantly carrying based on the threat of a mass shooting or something similar to that until I got here and I realized that it's literally not a threat. It just doesn't happen here. Now, that's not to say that nothing bad happens in the Netherlands. There is crime. There's crime everywhere in the world. You can't get away from that. But statistically speaking, you are much less likely to get caught in a mass shooting here in the Netherlands than you are in the United States. Now, a big part of why violence is so much more prevalent in the US is because of economic inequality.
There you have it. That's the reason. Economic inequality. And guess where most of that is? It starts in the cities. Then it spreads out. And of course, like I said, the school issue is the bullying. And that has escalated. And if you don't believe me, all you gotta do is just look on TikTok, Instagram, or even X. You should see the number of videos of students fighting. The fighting has escalated in the last, I would say, 8 years. It wasn't that bad. Now it's bad. And it goes along with all the school shootings. So with all the amount of fights that's going on in schools, what do you think is going to follow suit? A shooting. So you heard it from him. I was going to say too, economic inequality. But it's also bullying. That's the problem. It all boils down to hate. Period. He didn't say nothing about mental health because he knows for a fact the mental health issue and the gun control issue is just an issue, but it's not really tied because you got other countries that use swords and knives as a problem.
Which is the next reason why I will never move back to the US. The US has economic inequality to an extent that I don't think any other truly developed nation experiences. Now, I'm not going to get into the reasons why this is because truthfully, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I'm 24. I don't have all the answers. I'm not running for president. Like I said, I'm not even voting because I'm not going to be there. But if you've been to the US and if you've been to a big city in particular, like Los Angeles, you know that the economic inequality is unfathomable. Compared to what you see out here in the Netherlands, it is completely unfathomable. And I bring up LA as an example because, like I said, I lived there, or I wouldn't say I lived there. I stayed there for a little under 3 months, and I got a chance to see how you could have a sidewalk like this, for example, be lined up with tents. Lined up with tents. Not because people were camping. No, because people had nowhere else to live. And that's if you were lucky. There were people who were sleeping on the ground, at the beach, etc. Okay, I have seen some people who are probably never going to recover from the situation that they're in. And I don't say that to be pessimistic. I say that as an objective observation.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more striking is the fact that right around the corner from these sidewalks lined with tents, are mansions in the hills, mansions, penthouses, luxurious apartments,
That's crazy.
people
See?
driving Rolls-Royce Cullinans and Ferraris, and having people standing at the stoplight with the cardboard saying, I need help feeding my kids. And you don't know if they're actually in a position where they need to feed their children or if they're just strung out on drugs. You don't know. But the point is, I don't see that here. I just don't see it. That's not to say that nobody struggles with money here. Okay, that is definitely not true. There are people struggling with money everywhere in the world. And as a matter of fact, I believe the US is the wealthiest nation, but there are large portions of the US where you just would never know. You would never know. Because truthfully, the quality of life for most people is better here. It just is. For most people. If you're in the
Did you guys know that America has third world conditions in the Appalachians? There was, I believe, an international organization that came and checked on whatever their metrics they used for quality of life, standard of living, and all that other shit. And they designated the Appalachians as having third world conditions. Look this up. Google it, guys. It's crazy. So you can technically call America a third world nation. That's what's crazy.